Hello, and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today, I have another mini episode, and this one is about a particular mindset shift that can genuinely change the way you approach your fitness and weight loss goals. If you've ever felt like you're constantly in an all or nothing cycle, restricting, overdoing it, giving up, starting over, self-sabotaging, wondering why you're not making progress fast enough, or just simply overthinking, which so many of you most likely do, you're not alone, and this podcast is for you. Many women obsess over the idea that progress isn't happening fast enough, or that you need to do more to see results. This can then lead to a downward spiral where you either push yourself even more or you change approach when the approach you were doing was actually working, just not to the pace and speed that you thought it should be. So by the end of this, you'll understand how to stop overthinking every single decision, set targets you can actually stick with, and make steady progress without burning yourself out. But there is a catch. The thing I will be talking about and informing you on is most likely going to be your biggest pain point, fear, struggle. Like, you will fight yourself. You will feel some sort of resistance and ick when I tell you about this. So let's begin. Let's start with a scenario that might sound familiar. You start a new plan or routine and you're motivated. You go all in, but then maybe 1 or 2 weeks in, you step on the scale and nothing's changed. Or worse, which does happen quite a lot, the scale goes up a kilo or 2 pounds. Instantly, you're like, maybe this isn't working. What am I doing wrong? Maybe I should restrict a little more. Maybe I should try something else, eat less, cut the carbs here. Oh, it has to be the carbs. Maybe I need to do a little bit more cardio. Okay, something definitely isn't working. These aren't the right calories. So you change things up again. Or maybe you even just give up for a while or press the fuck it button. This cycle is exhausting. We get caught up in the need for these instant results, and we live in a world that constantly tells us that faster is better, better is fast. We see these before and afters, challenges are thrown at us, people are showing us their progress photos, etc., etc. And it is overwhelming when you're there wondering why you're not seeing those results. I get it. I really, really do. And that's why I feel like this podcast is so important, because the truth is constantly switching strategies or second guessing yourself doesn't lead to progress. It just makes you more frustrated, more defeated. And every single time you try another attempt, or the longer, well, yeah, for sure, the longer that you keep trying to diet and get to the end results without seeing them, you're just eating away at any confidence, any belief that you can achieve it. Because if you look at your resume of diets that you attempted in the past and your resume of just your journey in general, it doesn't look very bright, because every time you lose weight, you gain it back. Every time you try something, you just find yourself in some pickle. I like pickles. But it's like taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, over and over, sometimes 3 steps back, sometimes a landslide, because it really is demoralizing, especially when all of a sudden now it's the holidays. So the key to consistency is becoming aware of what realistic, sustainable progress is, something that actually works for your life. Instead of setting rigid, unrealistic goals that require perfection, focus on, for example, range targets. Let's talk about your macros as an example. Instead of saying that you need to eat X protein, X carbs, X fat, and you need to hit it to the gram, and then you need to hit the calories to the gram. Let's just have ranges. Like, you should have a range, like not 1,768 calories to the gram. No, have like your absolute minimum protein, and then have your ideal protein, because protein is a secret weapon in all of this. We know that. And I always give my own ladies a fruit and vegetable target. So having your calorie range, your protein target with a minimum, and your fruit and vegetable ideal, that should set you up for a lot of success. And then as you gain competency at that, then you start to have more specifics around carbs. Like you should be having most of your carbs, well, not most of your carbs, but like a great deal of carbs, a good portion of carbs before you work out. And many of my women, I would like them to have a decent amount of carbs before they sleep because that helps your sleep quality. If it's starchy carbs like oats, rice, potato, stuff like that. Even fruit. Fruit is amazing before you sleep because that's just going to fill up your liver stores of fructose, which sometimes can wake you up during the night if your liver stores of glucose are low. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Having ranges instead of specifics will always have you feel a lot less pressure, a lot less obsessive over your tracking. I find that's where a lot of people go wrong with tracking, and that's why they feel like tracking is obsessive. It takes up too much time. It creates disorders. I go crazy. No, it's just that your approach to it kind of is not the right one. And if you're trying to make new elaborate meals every single time with elaborate ingredients and trying to track them all, that's also like that. Like you can create recipes inside of MyFitnessPal. Also, I say that if you are using a whole bunch of vegetables and you don't want to weigh every single vegetable, depending on where you are in your journey, if you're in a fat loss phase versus the improvement, life enhancing, metabolic enhancing, health enhancing, like all the other amazing shit, which most of you should be in the majority of the time, then that doesn't matter and you can just do cups. But I would just say, weigh the veggies and log them as like carrots or peppers or just one that is kind of in the middle in terms of macros or calories, I should say. I just say just log everything as carrots if you're using carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, blah, blah, blah. But if you're using corn and peas, I would track that because corn is a grain, peas are a legume. They are higher in carbs. Track that. But the rest, I would just go with cups or grams and just pick one of them and use that. And if you're using herbs and spices, like, come on, don't weigh that shit and put it in there. Like if you're creating a recipe and you want to know what's in the recipe every time you make it, you're okay, cool, do that. But otherwise, just don't waste your time putting in things like I'm using half a teaspoon of cardamom and half a teaspoon of cajun and cumin and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, make it easy for yourself. So let's start with that. Let's get rid of the on or off because you don't think you can track something properly. When you're going out to eat, just make your best guess and then add in like 10 grams of butter or 10 grams of oil because they're going to cook with that. Although, even though you log the 10 grams of butter and oil, I will say, make sure they put your dressing on the side. Tell them not to cook with oil. Tell them not to put dressings on it. If they have to have a dressing or any other BS, tell them to put it on the side. But you don't want oily, shiny, slimy veggies. You want it to just be fresh, plain, and simple, but still log it in. Just because you can't track something perfectly doesn't mean that you don't put something into the app, especially if we are trying to gain some consistency and awareness around what you're eating to get you to your results. Like, yes, okay, we ideally don't want to be doing this long term. I don't really track my food when I go out to eat ever. I know how to order based off my principles, and I leave X amount of calories for dinner, knowing that I can fill in something within that range. I know how much protein I need to eat as a minimum, which I usually try to get through the day anyway, not leave everything to the last meal, so that I can just order something and not worry about tracking it and worry about like, let's look it all in, blah, 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 blah. But if you're new to this stuff, it really pays off to know what's in your foods. And if you're not sure how to deconstruct whatever it is, order something that is deconstructible, like steak and potatoes, or something that is really easy to just log the individual ingredients, especially if you're starting out. Does it always have to be that way? No. You can get someone to teach you how to then progress from there so that you can enjoy yourself a lot more, because not every meal needs to be a party in your mouth. And if you're going to be eating out like once a month or once a fortnight, and you're trying to get results and you've been struggling for so long, then there does need to be more trade-offs at first. Like, it doesn't need to be this way forever, because once you get to an ideal body fat percentage, if you have a lot of fat to lose, you have a lot more flexibility. But if you're in a bigger body and you're not happy with it, and you have a lot of fat to lose, then you are going to need to make a lot more sacrifices now. And that's okay because it will get easier down the road. Do the hard shit now, earn your easy later. It's just choosing your hard, but you can't complain about what you're not willing to just make the choices for. Like, I know it's difficult, especially when it feels like it's going to be a really long time, but that's why you do not diet 24/7. You do diet breaks, like increase your calories, do your maintenance every now and then when you need to. But also don't trip yourself up and put yourself into a maintenance too soon when you could have pushed that deficit a little longer, or push the deficit so far that you should have actually pulled yourself out into a maintenance phase, and now you're struggling to ever gain grip again because you overstayed the deficit. The power of letting go of perfectionism is the most pivotal thing. Like, all or nothing thinking, I need to do this right. Oh, I stuffed up this week. What's the point? I need to go harder. I'm not going to check in with my coach if you have a coach. I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that. Why am I struggling? Why is this so easy for so many people? I was doing so well, and then this came up, and then I spiraled again, and I'm struggling to get back on track, and the list goes on and on. You're human. Congratulations. Now that that's over, let's have a chat. You're not going to get it all right to start with. Everything can go swimmingly and you can get a hang of things, and then you can go back to the way that you were, especially when life happens, or when you, like, the longer that you've been doing something the right way, the easier it is to go back to doing it the right way. But if you're new to it and you've been doing it the wrong way for so long and you've been struggling for so long, and then something happens, like you get sick, you get whatever the hell else, you get injured. Injury usually happens outside of the gym, just so you know, or you slept wrong and then you did something in the gym which then sparked it. The gym usually makes you more injury resilient if you're training the right way, because training also increases your mobility, your flexibility, your stability, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it is harder to get back on track if you haven't been doing this for long enough, and that's okay. But shooting yourself with a second arrow and beating yourself up for falling back to your old habits and not being able to do it, and oh my god, it's pumpkin season and I want to have all the pumpkin lattes and pumpkin pies and blah 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 blah. Like, there's always something to celebrate. There's always gonna be another pumpkin pie. There's always gonna be another year when you can enjoy yourself a little bit more. That's not to say you can't enjoy yourself now. It's just you need to be a lot more mindful now, and you need to pick your battles. Don't try to diet in a period of time where you know that you are not going to be 100% consistent with what you told yourself you're going to do, because that is going to make you more fat loss and weight loss resistant. Fat loss and weight loss resistance comes from you dieting when you shouldn't be dieting, which includes dieting when you can diet, but then dieting for too long, because that end period of time is then dieting when you shouldn't be dieting. When you let go of all of those unrealistic targets, you will start to build consistency. And consistency, my lovely ladies, is where the magic happens. My tattoos themselves say fearless magic. You need to be fearless, which means feeling the fear and doing it anyway, into that hard direction, which probably means doing things you never did before because the things you did before weren't working. Shh, don't tell them. It just means not doing the same shit over and over again, hoping for a different result. Because even on the days when you hit your minimum effective dose, that is good enough. You are still moving forward. Your minimum effective dose is dependent on what you say it is. If it is as simple as you drank your water today, because usually you let that slide and then that leads to a whole heap of bad habits. Congratulations. I had a lady get crazy results just by exercising more. And by that, I mean just by walking. We didn't discuss food. We didn't discuss anything else. We just got her walking. And that helped her appetite. It helped her cravings. It made her want to walk even more. It made her want to change her breakfast and actually have something that fueled her, instead of skipping it and then having something tiny, which was literally she just had half a muesli bar, literally just half a muesli bar, and then she put away the rest for the next day. That was all she had for breakfast. She had a bigger breakfast because she wanted to fuel herself a little bit better. And that led to everything else in the day ending up so much better nutrition-wise. And she had more energy to move around and do things and blah, 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 blah. This is how it's all connected. And this is why you need to enjoy the process. Now, the thing I am telling you is that scale is going to hold you back, and that scale needs to go. Because if you're always going to obsess over, I want to check the scale to see if it said anything, It's going to go up and down. And if you're new to a lot of this stuff and new to eating in a healthier way, you're going to feel a little bit more bloated to start with because you're probably eating a lot more veggies, probably eating a lot more lean protein. The scale will probably go up because you're training harder, training smarter. So you have more food volume in you, but that is temporary. And then if you're in a fat loss phase, then the scale will go down, but then it'll go up again, and then it'll go down, and then it won't go down at the pace that you think, and then it'll go up and then down and then up and then down, and you drive yourself absolutely mad. And I had a client tell me that when she stopped weighing herself every day, she stopped obsessing over the little ups and downs and just focused on her targets, what she had to do every day, every week, and she started enjoying the process so much more. She got her strongest. She fell in love with the process because she wasn't motivated with the scales. Like, she was so much more motivated without them because she started to tune into her body and what made her feel good. So she kept doing those things. And that is the story with so many of my clients. They didn't realize how much it was actually holding them back. It was almost like, I'm checking the scale every single morning. They didn't think it impacted their mood because they argued it didn't until they actually gave it up because something in my prior podcasts, spurred them to ditch the scales. And then they realized, hey, she was actually right there. Because if you're constantly stressed about hitting a specific number or seeing it go down, that is going to influence you in some way. There was a point where it actually sometimes, I can't say now, but before, whenever I got a low weigh-in, my session would be impacted because I'm like, shit, that was a low weigh-in. I'm not going to be able to deadlift as much. I'm not going to be able to squat as much. And my whole mindset just shifted. I'm like, what the hell? And this was me. I think this was 2 years ago. Time flies. I'm time warped as well. But I think it was 2 years ago when the scale would go down and I would freak the hell out over my squats and my deadlifts. When I was squatting deadlift day, I'm like, shit, I'm going to lose strength. So it does impact us in some way, regardless of whether you realize it or not. And that is why being told you're going to ditch the scale, or what if I lose control of my eating because now I don't have this thing to keep me in check? If you're only doing health-focused habits because of a number a scale says, when that scale doesn't say anything about muscle you gain or fat you lose. And if you think about it, how is it going to know the difference if you're gaining muscle, losing fat, or just anything in between? Because I've even lost 5 kilos overnight once, and I had a client lose 7 kilos in 3 days. She was doing I think they call it a colonoscopy, no, a gastroscopy, one of the things for the stomach, and she had to do that thing. Like, weight can be influenced by so much. I actually need to weigh myself before and after a cardio session soon, so I can see how much I sweat. I want to test my sweat rate, and losing sweat is going to lead to me being lighter on the scale, but I also drink water at the same time. So I want to know how much the difference actually is, and if I'm drinking enough compared to the sweat that I'm sweating out. Do you see how much the scale can just be impacted by all these things? Even if you do it at the same time in the morning, if you had different food the prior day, and if you're changing your food choices so often all the freaking time, and you have no structure to anything that you do, that is going to lead to even more skewed results. And the smaller you are as a human, everything is a bigger percentage. Like, things are going to fluctuate a whole lot more because you're a smaller human. It kind of makes sense that way. So if you shift your focus from the results and what the scale says to the actions that you are doing, which I said on the last solo podcast, instead of, is it working? Is this going fast enough? I want to see what the scale says, to instead, have I done all my sessions with my best effort? Have I showed up to every single session with my best effort, with my best mindset, with my best energy, with the best fuel that I could have put into myself for a pre-workout meal? Have I honestly put my best effort into my nutrition habits, into making my balanced meals, into eating my fruits and veggies, into putting enough lean protein into my food sources? Have I put my honest effort into making my best effort to sleep well? Because I know how hard that can be for many of you, to creating a really good routine. Commit to literally just 30 days of shifting your focus to start with, and then you'll realize how good you feel when you're not obsessing over the scale and you're just focusing on those targets. But you need to be honest with that as well, because you can't just say, yeah, I'm committing to 30 days of this, and you're still having it in your mind. Like, this is, what is this? What is that? What is this? What if I gain weight? Like, you shouldn't just be doing these health-focused habits because of that. It's just like, I'm going to check the scale just to see if I need to be a little bit tighter on my food through the holiday period, just in case I got a little bit loose before. So maybe weighing myself now can keep me in check. Like, that is not a mindset to have. Know your habits. Like, the scale in the kitchen is the most important scale, not the one on the floor. That's going to make you judge your worth based off that. Because if you actually measure what is going into the system, you don't need to worry about what's going to happen down the road, because physique change is a delayed metric of progress, even if you have a lot to lose. Although it can be faster at first, it is still delayed, because you're not going to fat loss your way all the way there. You're going to take diet breaks, and it's still going to happen a lot slower than you think. And if you have a lot of adiposity, aka body fat, you're not going to see a lot of change to start with. A lot of it is visceral fat, aka the fat around your organs that gets lost first. And you see yourself every day. And you can't choose where you lose fat from. It's like putting butter into a microwave. Like, it just comes off from everywhere. Versus when your target, like, you can spot enhance your muscles. You can spot lean yourself by building particular areas even more. That's called spot leaning. Like, you can lean out in particular areas a lot more by building a lot more muscle there. And then when you lose fat, you can't choose where you lose fat from. It goes from everywhere. And you can't really tell. So, yeah. That's where you kind of pull the seed out every single time you're checking for progress. This difference makes so much, this shift makes so much difference over time, I should say, because it is sustainable, it is enjoyable. You're not going to be swinging between extremes. You're just moving forward step by step, action by action, day by day. Even if life gets busy, you have your minimum targets there, and that's what you're going to be focusing on. You're not going to be focusing on going backwards or how much less progress you're making now, or, oh no, the scale went up, I better up my ante, I can't let myself slide. No, you're just focusing on doing the daily habits. That consistency is the hardest. That consistency is the hardest thing ever, especially when you feel like you should be doing it alone and you should know what to do. I don't even want to think about it myself. My coach looks after all that, and I just do my check-ins. You want a steady climb and no more sliding back. No more draining cycles of restarting. Just a steady, manageable path forward where you can enjoy the moments that mean a lot to you. Whether it's your birthday, your kid's birthday, Christmas, whatever it is that means a lot to you, where presence with a C, presence and true presence, not your body just being there, but you physically being present in your best form, because you are at your best. You're at your peak. You're at your optimal. You're there, making memories, being in photos, enjoying yourself. Instead of feeling worn out by the process, you're now energized by it. You're empowered by it. So I guess the biggest takeaway from today is to stop overthinking every single little detail and focus on setting realistic, sensible targets, ranges, and being okay with your process. There is no rush here. Where are we going to? Like, time is flying enough as it is. Why are you trying to rush it more? Like, every single year, we wonder where the year went, and you're trying to rush it more. And every single year, it's just another year on another year until we end up in the grave at one point. Like, we're not rushing anywhere. And if we stop doing what we're doing, we're just going to go back to where we were. And if you want to be a strong 75-year-old versus having a true 75 hard, then you will take those actions now and realize that the long game matters. You can be your best, look your best, feel your best along the way if you allow yourself to be. But rushing the process never ends well. I hope this helped. And if you're ready to take this mindset shift seriously and want a coach to help you through that, you can always reach out to me, have a chat, but send this to someone who can benefit, because this difference over time, it's huge. It really is. And so many of us just keep shooting ourselves down, and it doesn't benefit us. It doesn't feel good. It's not rewarding. And it honestly feels like shit when you always feel like you're behind, like you're never there, like you're always questioning everything. Shit takes time. I've been doing this for 8 years. I feel like I look the same every single freaking year. But if I look back on photos over time, shit has changed quite a lot. It's just patience, and aggressive patience. You can't just say I'm patient and not act on it. It's aggressive patience. Love you all. And please give us a 5-star rating. Please reach out to me. These solo episodes hit a nerve because I do want to continue doing them. I want to continue helping. If you have any topics, let me know. If you have any feedback, let me know. And if you've listened to it, please let me know as well.